Geeks with beards, geeks with beards. Look who's here, geeks with beards. No need to fear, we're right here. We got beards, so listen clear. Geeks with beards, geeks with beards.
Welcome back, readers, to another episode of Dan's Comic Corner. And on this episode, we're going to talk about G.I. Joe number 19 from Skybound. And as you can see on the cover here, oh, look at this cover, guys. We've got Hound, and we've got Duke headbutting. Clutch is in the middle. He's like, whoa, guys, come on, break it up, you know. So this is picking up pretty much right after the Dreadnought War that we got in this comic, which was an amazing miniseries. So we'll jump into it, guys. There's a credits page. Who does what and where. And the first thing we get to see is General Hawk. But, yeah, it's not really General Hawk, is it? No. It's a mask of Hawk. And we have someone talking. And basically saying, hey, look, I need Energon, if, you know, as much, if not more, than Cobra and G.I. Joe. And the person's like, well, I have the Joe files and the Cobra files. So now what happens next? And who is it? We all know who it is. Zartan. And he says, the hunt for Energon now begins. Of course, he's got his little General Hawk, you know, jacket back there. And he's got a map. Shows him different areas for the Energon. Man, this book has just been so good. And then we just jump right into it. Duke telling Hound, he's like, you better talk, or I'm going to get rid of you. I'm going to blast you off the face of this earth. And, you know, we got Clutch. He's like, look, Duke, you know, you're not going to do that. That's not your kind of deal, man, is to shoot first and ask later. At least it used to not be. And everybody's kind of, just calm down, just chill out. Hey, you know, Hound is cool. You know, he's one of the good guys. And Clutch even, basically, again, they just keep talking. He's like, look, Hound, you know, Hound saved me, and Hound's a good guy, you know. He's like, Hound is a G.I. Joe. And Duke's like, yeah, no. He'll never be a Joe as long as I'm breathing. I'm like, oh. Which, I mean, if you remember why, back in the Duke miniseries, that Starscream had killed one of his friends. They were in a jet. The jet encountered Starscream, and Starscream killed his friend. He squished him, basically. So that's why Duke hates, you know, Transformers altogether. But then we jump back, and this is from the Free Comic Book Day special that we had last year. This is when Hound and Clutch go to see Matt Tracker. And again, if anybody knows Matt Tracker, he's from a character from the cartoon series from the 80s called Mask, which was kind of G.I. Joe Transformer mashup, really, if you think about it, because they were kind of a covert, not really covert, but kind of covert team. And they drove vehicles that could, for lack of a better term, transform, you know, into different kind of little versions and stuff. So basically, he's been off the grid, and this is showing him traveling around the world, kind of staying off the grid. And then today, he's in a little camper, and he gets a message. He's like, hey, we know something about our little friend Mayhem. I need to meet you. And he's like, well, this better be good. And we get back to the pit because Duke has ordered the other Joes to basically arrest Hound and Clutch and take them to the pit for interrogation. And they're talking about, hey, you know, we need some R&R, you know, it's rough, you know. And Stalker says, yeah, we just had our butts kicked. You know, we need to expand our team. You know, we're too small. We can't take on these Cobra forces and the Dreadnoughts and everything. Of course, here comes Hawk, a.k.a. Zartan, to say, no, we need to keep it small right now. And Risk is like, whoa. You know, because Hawk comes in and says they need to do another mission. He's like, well, look, we just did 2 missions back to back. You know, we need to rest a little while. And Hawk's like, look, the world's not going to rest for you. What do you know? So he basically says, hey, we need to go find Energon, and I'm breaking you guys up into some smaller teams. So we're going to jump ahead just a little bit here. They do that, and then we see that Tracker goes to a racetrack to meet up with this source that's got some information for him. Kind of like a Men in Black kind of situation. He's like, look, I've been here. I got here like an hour before you. And he's like, don't look at me, you know, make it incognito. Why are you here? and he tells him about Miles framing him. He framed Matt Tracker. But they know that it's not real, but he's like, look, I'm still ruining my life. You know, I'm still wanted. Nobody's going to believe me then. Why would they believe me now? And then all of a sudden, boom, a big explosion happens. And who shows up to come after Matt Tracker? But Scrap Iron. And he's like, hey, man, our buddy Mayhem says hi. Look at, he's driving a monster truck, and it is armed to the teeth. So we'll put it back up here for you guys to look at the cover. So another great issue of Skybound's G.I. Joe series from the Energon universe. It's just amazing. The story just keeps getting better. Sorry, cover is moving. It's a great title. And I think, you know, if you're a big G.I. Joe fan and you're probably already reading A Real American Hero, I think this would be a good companion piece. It's a completely different universe than A Real American Hero, but I think it's, I can't say 100% because I haven't read A Real American Hero that much, but I think it's just as great as that is. It's a different take where we finally get what a lot of us 80s fans always wanted was, you know, G.I. Joe and Transformers together, but we're also going to get Mask involved. Because if you haven't heard the news or read the news, Skybound is going to do a Mask comic book as well in the next couple of months. So that's going to be really interesting. IDW tried it. They tried to do a linked universe. It just didn't really work out that well for IDW. I think with the success that Skybound has had so far with Transformers and G.I. Joe and Void Rivals, I think Mask is going to be a great addition. It just depends on how they handle it. You know, and kind of how they do it. You don't want to get it too saturated with too many properties because then it'll just be muddled and it'll lose the greatness that it is right now. I think Mask is good to add. I think probably 4 titles is enough. I don't think I'd add any more titles than Mask. You know, that's just my opinion though. But put in the comments below, what do you think of Mask being added to the Energon universe, and what are your thoughts on Duke and Hound? Will they become buddies or will they stay enemies? But until next time, guys, good read.
Geeks with beards, geeks with beards. Look who's here, geeks with beards. No need to fear, we're right here. We got beards, so listen clear. Geeks with beards, geeks with beards.